This video tutorial is designed to guide you through doing assignment 8 on the iPad. The first thing that you'll want to do is make sure that you have the Schoology app. It makes things a lot easier. You can actually download this app for free. You can see it's right here. And you can then access the Schoology forum for the Common Core course. So that's the first thing that you want to be able to do. Once you're into Module 2 and the Assignment 8, this is the assignment that is designed to help you experience sample assessment items. The purpose of this is to throw you into that experience so that you can understand what skills students are going to need to demonstrate and also how they might be a little bit different. So the way that we're going to start this assignment is by visiting the website that says Smarter Balance Sample Items, ELA. So you can click on that link. And when you click on that, it may take you to a screen that looks like this. Don't be alarmed. All you have to do is then go to this area where at the bottom it says Open in Safari or Email Link. You get a little square with the arrow, touch that, and this is the dialog box that will come up. Go ahead and click Open in Safari, and the screen should look more like this. And again, we have another error item. Don't be alarmed. All you need to do is turn your iPad to a horizontal orientation rather than a vertical orientation. As you can see, that totally goes away. So now what we're going to do is actually start getting into some of those sample items. The first thing that you'll want to do is actually click up here where it says View More English Language Arts Literacy Sample Items. You should get a dialog box that looks like this. For the sample and video tutorial for this assignment, we're going to look at Grammar Ruth 2. So you can click on that link with your finger. And after clicking on that link with your finger, you'll see this particular sample item. The idea behind this is to read some sample items and, as I said before, to really think about the skills that students are going to need to have in order to complete these assessment items, and also think about how this type of assessment is different from what we're currently asking students to do. In order to do this, we actually will ask you to go, we actually have a note sheet that you can complete, and that's back in the Schoology forum. So what you'll want to do is make sure that you go back into the Schoology forum into our assignment 8 so that it looks like this. And you'll actually see that there are the instructions, the note sheet, the link for the ELA items, and the link for the math items. What you'll want to do is maybe bring up the note sheet so that you'll have an opportunity to look at. Because it's a Word file, you won't be able to type directly into it, but you could actually click on it and take a look at it and then perhaps make some paper notes or print this out in advance from your computer or whatever works for you so that you can then have a format in which to take notes. So go ahead and just click this item right here. And then when you click it, you should get a note sheet that looks something like this. As you can see, this note sheet is already partially completed so that you can have an example of what kinds of things you can write down for notes. So if you think back to the grammar task that asked students to determine the context clues in order to determine the meaning of the word scarred, there's some things that we can think about in terms of student skills. So one thing that students may need to be able to do is to have stamina to read a long piece of text. Certainly, they'll also need context clues. They'll need to know how to use context clues to determine meaning. And from a technological standpoint, they'll need to know how to select words and phrases using a mouse, since the particular grammar task is a technology-enhanced item. If we're thinking about the differences from the current assessment, one of the things that's a really huge deal is that the current assessment is multiple choice. In that respect, students have a limited amount of choices, 4 or 5 items, and they can just select from one of those. Whereas in this particular assessment item, there are multiple options. Students can click any phrase they want in the assessment task in that paragraph of text. So students really have to understand how to use context clues and also provide multiple answers for that, which is a completely different paradigm from a multiple choice test. It makes it much more difficult for students to guess and get the answer correct. Also, students need to be able to determine context clues of figurative language as well as literal definitions of words, because in the paragraph that you read, if you look back at the grammar task, scarred is really being used figuratively rather than literally there. And so that's something else that students are going to have to be able to do, which isn't totally aligned with what students are currently being asked to do, especially on the earlier grades of assessments. So then after you have an opportunity to look at that assessment task and take some notes on this sheet, using this as a model, we're actually going to ask you to go back to the Schoology app. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you can see the Schoology app is there, so you can go ahead and touch this again. So you can touch that and go back to the Schoology app. And once you're back in the Schoology app, you really need to go back to the area where it says Assignment 8, and this time we're going to take an opportunity to look at our math tasks. So go ahead and just click on that link. And once you click on that link, it should take you here. Again, we see that error message. You may get, you may not. If you do get it, remember you're going to actually hit this button right here that has the little square with the arrow in it. And when you touch that with your finger, you will get something that looks like, this. Open in Safari or email link. You want to touch open in Safari. And then you may get something that looks like this. Again, another error message. But remember, if you just turn your iPad sideways to the horizontal view, it's all fixed. So then it looks like this, and you see the little swimmers up top. Now again, just like with the English language arts or literacy tasks, we're going to be looking at this. View more mathematics sample items. So go ahead and tap that. When you tap that, you will actually get this blue dialog box. And again, you can select any of these tasks that you'd like, except we're going to ask you not to look at any of the performance tasks for now, just the other items. For the purpose of this assignment, let's just take a look at Sandbags 1. So you want to tap that with your finger. And when you do, you should see this. As you can see, this is a word problem that is asking us to figure out if Jamal can fill sandbags that are the same size and if he can pour sand from one into another and still keep all of his sandbags weighing less than 50 pounds. This is a complicated word problem that students need to be able to solve. And as you can see from this section right here, there is a place where students are going to actually have to write their response rather than answer in a multiple choice format. As with our language arts tasks, again, we're asking you to keep in mind what students are going to need to demonstrate, what skills they're going to need to be able to demonstrate, and also how this type of item differs from what students are currently asked to do. So what we'll ask you to do after you have an opportunity to read this task and this item and think about it, go back into the Schoology forum in the assignment 8 and pull up your note sheet again, or pull your notes aside if you have them written beside you, and we're going to ask you to do the same kind of 2-column chart with the math tasks as you did with the language arts tasks. So you should see something like this. As you notice, we have the 2-column chart, again with skills that students need to have, and then also the differences from the current assessments. In terms of the Jamal task, what students are going to need, first of all, is probably they're going to need multiple pathways for problem solving. The way that we go about solving that problem isn't prescriptive, so students might need several different tools in their toolbox to be able to do that, maybe even drawing a picture. Students need to know how to do that in order to solve this problem. Because there is that section for written text, students are also going to have to know how to justify their reasoning using mathematical language and being able to describe their mathematical processes. If we think about the differences from our current assessment, that's completely different. Students are currently assessed primarily on their ability to solve algorithms or just quick problems and arrive at a correct answer. In this particular problem with Jamal, students also need to be able to explain their process, which means they also might need other ways of solving a problem. which again is very different from what we're currently asking students to do. After you have an opportunity to explore 3 to 4 math tasks and 3 to 4 literacy tasks and take some notes, we're actually going to ask you to go back into the Schoology app. So you can see right here, you'll want to visit that again. And then you'll want to click on the Assignment 8 discussion in the Schoology app. And you can see there's an info bar and then there's a discussion bar. In order to get to the place where you can add to the discussion, you want to tap Discussion, which is right here. And then once you do that, click on this plus sign up here in the upper right corner, and you'll get this dialog box that says New Comment. From here, you can actually type into this with your keypad, and then when you're finished with your comment and your response to the discussion questions, just click Create, and it will post for you. Hope you enjoy exploring these tasks, and hope this tutorial makes your experience on iPad very pleasant. Thank you so much.